2 Thomas sets, 1 champion. Hello everybody, I'm here, the Japanese Train here, and today we're going to take a look at 2 Thomas push-along diecast starter sets, and we're going to see which one is better than the other. Let's go ahead and start by looking at the older of the 2 sets, the Thomas and the Windmill set, which has been around for quite a while. I mean, there have been different iterations and versions throughout the years. This one is clearly sort of that end stage CGI push along, sort of kind of the very tail end of the Big World Big Adventures era, getting into All Engines Go. But this set had predated this packaging by a good number of years. So what you get in here is obviously a loop of track, Thomas, and this plastic windmill. I got this set at Dollar General, and finding Thomas stuff at Dollar General is kind of cool because you sometimes can get good deals there. But considering what Thomas sets go for, it's all about what you're actually getting in the box. So for this, just taking a look at the packaging, mine had some printing errors and different variations there, which I think is kind of interesting. Obviously the CGI Thomas, and the very back here, adventures with Thomas don't end, and neither does this track. Round and round and round you go. The windmill blades go around too. How lovely. It's kind of a Sisyphus set, if you will, for Thomas. It'll never end. The ride never ends when you're with Mattel. You can see it's got 8 pieces. I think earlier versions of the set said 7+ pieces, just to kind of just psychologically mess with the customer, I guess. But that's good that they just are straight up, hey, we have 8 pieces in here. Interesting note about the Thomas, actually, and let me go ahead and zoom in on him. The pupils of this Thomas have the little, I'm going to call it like the light reflection, the white dot in the center of the pupil. Not all of the Thomases that I saw at Dollar General had this, and I know that it's just sort of very tail end push along stuff had that before the All Engines Go era. So possibly this is a more rare variation of Thomas with just a very slight difference in the eyes, but I'm not going to pretend that this is a special version or anything. It's just, for all intents and purposes, a regular push along Thomas, but I just thought I'd point that out. So that's the packaging of the Thomas and the Windmill set. Let's go ahead and open it up. There was kind of a nice, interesting surprise, actually, when I just went to open the set. You have the characters here, the promo pics, but if you open up this flap, you're greeted with this picture of the whole Big World Big Adventures era Steam Team, which I thought this was a really cool, neat surprise. It shows some more care and love and attention went into this packaging than maybe other sets prior, but I just think that's a cool little detail. All right, so we have the windmill here, which I think is unchanged from several other versions of the set. You've got 6 pieces of track, and I'll go ahead and get out Thomas. There you go. Round and round. The ride never ends, Thomas. So yeah, obviously not too much to this set. You have your stock standard Thomas here, kind of nothing to write home about. It's the same Thomas that they had been making for 3, 4, 5 years at the time when I got this set, and I got this set in, I think, sometime in 2024. So obviously I think the set was discontinued prior to that. It's just, that was sort of typical of the late CGI BWBA era Trackmaster push along stuff. And if we take a look at the windmill, again, just sort of plasticky and very low on the detail. We have these sort of bubbling stickers. If we look inside the windmill, there's a guy, there's a seagull, something having to do with shipping, and I don't know. I'm just going to say that's like Lily from Magic Railroad. We got Mara Wilson hanging out in this padlocked windmill, or I guess it's just a regular lock, but other than that, there's really no other detailing on this windmill. If you look in the backside here, it's just It's like Green Army Man house, you know? It's just, I mean, you can make out a desk and some stairs, and that's all well and good, but you know, you got to squint to see some of this stuff, and not to mention it's just all green and kind of nothingness. I don't even know what you'd put in here. So that's just kind of disappointing. There's really just not much going on here with what's the main destination play feature of this set. And so you're just kind of left with, honestly, what looks like a cake topper to me. And maybe that's even insulting to cake toppers. But other than that, you've got 6 of the stock standard gray Trackmaster track. I mean, I have no issues with this track. I like that it's just, you know, the ordinary gray that looks best on layouts and stuff. So no issues with that. And yeah, just round and round. And if you want to spice it up, woo! But not really a lot to write home about. And for the fact that I paid $10 for this set, well, I don't know how much bang for your buck you're getting, because, you know, Thomas alone, there's nothing special about him. There's no incentive to go above and beyond and buy this set, where you can maybe spend, I don't know, $30 or potentially even less than $30 and get a set with more features. Think about what else was out at the time. I mean, the Cassia set and other sets like that were really cool. So I think this one, you know, for $10 kind of misses the mark. If this was more like a $7 set, then maybe you're talking about some value there. But, you know, for $10, this isn't really much to write home about. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other set and see if it did any better. All right, and here's the second set. It is the Move Over set. See what they did there? Peak comedy right there. If you're feeling spicy, you could also call it something like
Coffret gare aux vaches.
Or if you're feeling real spicy,
Aus dem Weg set.
They have other different languages too. It's kind of an international version release. If you look at the back, Thomas, spooked, 2 cows, a loop of track. I don't know why 2 of them are green. We have more international mumbo jumbo. I like how some of them still try to use the moo pun, except for the Germans. It's just the get out of the way set. I think it's funny. Tells you what comes in the set. 6 pieces of track, Thomas, and something else that's pretty special. So I'm pretty sure this is the All Engines Go answer to the Thomas and the Windmill set, or something to kind of fill that void. I got this set actually, I think in 2023. I got it at the #1 Midwestern destination, Menards. And Menards is awesome. As someone who grew up on the East Coast and I never heard of Menards before I moved here, all love to Menards. Thank you for everything you do. Menards was actually such a helpful store for other items that I bought in the past. I tried to get a Thomas with a snowplow that I saw listed as a push along on the Menards website, but you know, I took a shot in the dark and was like, hey, do you guys have this item in stock? And I ordered one and they said, oh, we don't have that one specifically, but maybe we can send you this one instead. And you know, I knew it was a long shot to get a snowplow Thomas for regular push-along price from Menards, so I figured, why not? I don't have this one. Send it my way. Menards is very helpful. Their store like texted me all of this stuff and we worked something out. So again, Menards, they look out for me. I gotta give them props. But that's not what this is about. This is about the Move Over set. So let's go ahead and open this set up and take a look. And just like with the Thomas and the Windmill set, I'm happy to say that once you open this little flap, there's a nice other little picture there. Very cool. I love it that they started doing this. And a second flap, double points. I was about to really ding this box on points because, you know, outside of all that, adult assembly required and a whole bunch of international mumbo jumbo, a cropped picture of Thomas, there's not really much else going on that kind of gets you excited about this set until you open it. You know, like, that's neat. But if you look at the Thomas and the Windmill box, you know, they plastered it with pictures and descriptions of, you know, why this set is so cool and how the adventures are never going to end. But this box was a little more plain until you got to that part. So, yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, and here's the move over set. I'm going to start by looking at the Thomas that it comes with, because one of the main reasons I picked this set up in the first place at Menards was the fact that it had this special expression, which I think is just so cool. I like the fact that, you know, say what you will about the All Engines Go merchandise, but the new techniques for making the merchandise and using the 2D faces opened up possibilities for, you know, changing up the facial expressions without much cost to Mattel. So they could have just included a stock standard Thomas, which is something I ding the Thomas and the Windmill set for. So the fact that they included a Thomas with a special expression was definitely a selling point. I may not have even bought this set if it didn't have a nice little special Thomas, to be honest, because that's really one of the main reasons to go out and collect one of these beginner sets is, you know, hey, I have a surprise Thomas, but what if I want a smiling Thomas? Then you go and get the normal one, or vice versa. And it really makes a line like this of merchandise so versatile and collectible in the long term, because, you know, you think of wanting to recreate stories, you want a Thomas that is shocked, you want a Thomas that is sad or angry, and that's really a selling point of these push along sets from the All Engines Go era. All right, now let's take a look at the play feature of this set, which is cows.
Moo.
2 cows, to be
Moo.
exact. I'm pretty sure these are not the All Engines Go versions, especially because of how kind of realistic they try to make them look with the eyes and stuff. So maybe that was just excess stock or something, I don't know. But in terms of overall playability, I like these more than the Windmill, because take a look at the Windmill. I mean, what is this thing? Neon green plastic army men, looks totally out of place, unrealistic. Move on with your life, right? But these cows you can put in the background of really anything on Sodor. You can use these to recreate stories from Thomas and Friends and All Engines Go. You know, these have far more value to me as someone who's into Thomas than this Windmill that you just know is going to end up in a Goodwill bag in many years. So for this set, I give the cows the advantage over that stinking Windmill. And here's how the two sets look side by side. As you can see, the All Engines Go move over set has different colored track than the Thomas and the Windmill set. We've got this sort of Buzz Lightyear color palette with the dark blue and the light neon green, which, you know, isn't super accurate, but nothing in All Engines Go is super accurate. And so I can't really ding them for that, because All Engines Go is kind of just its own animal. You kind of have to judge this less as a representation of the show and more as how good of a Thomas train set is this. So in terms of the track, personally, my preference is the gray track here of the CGI Thomas and the Windmill set, but, you know, Trackmaster track comes in all different shapes and colors and sizes, including back in this era, they had all different colors of track. So it's kind of neat that they're the same size no matter what. So they're the C curves from the Trackmaster track. Um, Other than that, in terms of playability, it's kind of roughly the same in terms of playing with the set. You know, it's just Thomas becoming Sisyphus and just rolling around until the end of time. Obviously, you can expand this world and enlarge this set and, you know, build upon this. That's what's so great about these Thomas sets from any merchandise range. But really, what it comes down to me is the uniqueness of the set and the play features. Hands down, I got to give it to the Move Over set for this special expression of Thomas. I mean, that alone is kind of worth the price of admission. Um, and the set itself was actually not a bad deal. When I got the set at Menards, It was less than Thomas and the Windmill set. It was about $7 or about $7.50. So that's kind of the best of all worlds right here. And of course, we have the cows, which I think are a much better feature, and these kind of interact with one another, right? You have the cow that sort of scares the life out of Thomas, and that's why he's so shocked. But this windmill has absolutely nothing to do with Thomas other than something for him to pass, and you can kind of just flick it. But this actually incorporates the elements together into something more cohesive, and for that, I have to give it to the All Engines Go metal set. The one thing I think both of these sets could have really used is rolling stock. For example, if we take a look at this, I'll call it a slate car, but this sort of wooden car, this already had the pegs that a cow would have used to go in here. I mean, I remember they would sell these cows and other animals, I think, in these cars ready for them to be, rolled around. And I know that recent sets in the push along era have done this with sheep, for example. There was a recent set, I think that's at Dollar General. But they could have done this for a set like the Move Over set and, really extended that value and playability a little more. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it's too much to ask for maybe just one car for Thomas to pull along, and I don't think you would lose that much profit just including a single plastic car. I mean, the entire thing is plastic, even the wheel bogies. So, it would just be a little thing to extend the set even further. The same goes for the Thomas and the Windmill set. I mean, obviously, I'm using a Trackmaster card that's a lot bigger in scale. But again, just something to make me really not have to stare at that windmill all day and kind of distract me from that, such as just a single troublesome truck would probably make this an excellent, if not the ideal, starter set for any Thomas fan. Okay, now that I've had a chance to open both of these sets, take a look at them, let me go ahead and score them both, and let's see which one came out on top, and then I'll give my final thoughts. For the box art, I have to give it to the Thomas and the Windmill set. There was just more going on the outside of the package that would have made me, as the customer, want to buy it, rather than me just as a Thomas collector finding something particular about the set that I wanted, like the surprised face on the Move Over set Thomas. So the box art goes to the Thomas and the Windmill. The actual track that you get, let's call it the layout score, is pretty much the same. It's pretty much just a tie, right? So, in one you get gray track, on the other one you get other track that might be more in the spirit of All Engines Go. So, same loop of track, same layout. It's a total tie on this one. Let's talk about the engine. Obviously, hands down, for me, I give the win to the All Engines Go Move Over set. And that is coming from someone who's not at all a fan of All Engines Go. I think it is personally the worst era of Thomas, but you have to hand it to credit where credit is due. The All Engines Go Diecast Thomas engines are just better than the late stage push-alongs of the end of the CGI era. Okay, the last two things I'm going to talk about are the play features and the value. For the play features, hands down, I have to give it to the Move Over set. I just think the cows are better and long-term a more collectible item, something that will benefit Thomas fans more than the really crappy windmill that we got in the Thomas and the Windmill set. So by a long margin, that goes to the Move Over set. And finally, the price. The Thomas and the Windmill set, when I got it, was $10. I think it's been cheaper in previous eras, but I paid $10 for it, and the value of the Move Over set was about $7.50. So I've got to give it to the Move Over set for a better value, while also, in my opinion, containing higher quality stuff and stuff that's more unique and more collectible than the Thomas and the Windmill set. And there you have it. Move Over Windmill set, because the Move Over set is today's winner. Alrighty. that brings us to the end of this very long-winded comparison of these two starter sets. I don't know why this is one of the longest videos I've had recently, but I guess I had a lot to say about these two tiny Thomas sets. Thank you guys very much for watching, especially if you stuck it through to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Hiro the Japanese Train, signing out.
You saved my